Sí.
Yeah.
One idea led to the next.
Right.
I had to stumble here.
Aha.
It was just like,
Ahá Spark.
Hola, mi gente. Welcome to the Ahá Spark Podcast, where we explore the spark behind life's aha moments, sharing stories of passion, pivots, and breakthroughs. I'm your host, Miss Yaya. My guest today is Jorge Cano-Moreno, aka Don Jorge. Born in Bogotá, Colombia, raised in Queens, New York, and he has made major contributions in print media, television, and film production, marketing and public relations, and one of his latest ventures, I say one because I know he's not gonna stop ever, food and hospitality. Cano-Moreno says his journey in these multidimensional realms is his way of making a lasting impact on Latino culture and the urban community. I'm happy to have you here. Thanks, George.
Thank you, Yaya.
Let's go back to 1994. During this time in New York City, Latino culture was heavily influenced by the presence of Boricuas and a growing presence of other Latin American groups like Dominicans, Panamanians, Hondureños, contributing to a diverse cultural landscape marked by vibrant celebrations, community gatherings, and a sense of shared identity despite variations in origin. And during this time, you co-founded Urban Latino Magazine, a prominent national brand celebrating Latino culture. What compelled you and your business partner to be at the center of what was going on at that time?
At the time, we were doing these like almost illegal loft art parties in Chelsea. Once a month, we would invite an artist, a visual artist. We would invite musicians, and we would throw these parties called Soul Concepts. It was just real artsy stuff that we were trying to do. So we were doing these art parties for a while. I was heavy promoter, and before we built a magazine business, we built a very good, lucrative promotion business, a nightclub promotion business. And we were making some serious dollars in our mid-20s that people don't believe because we had a machine. And at one of the parties, Rodrigo Salazar, who at the time was a student at NYU, came through. We started talking. He started this magazine at NYU called Conciencia, and he gave me a copy of it. And at the time, I was in between, like, what am I gonna do with my life? I wasn't going to college. I just got out of high school a couple of years. I decided one day, you know what, I'm gonna join the Army Reserves. So I signed up. I went off to basic training in AIT. I took this NYU magazine, and while I was in the Army, I read it, and then I started thinking, wow, this is a really well done magazine. It was a school magazine, but it talked about Latinos and culture and religion, and the words were incredible. The stories were great. The visuals weren't good, and it was very like school paper. But when I got back, I showed it to my partner, and I said, maybe we could do something. Maybe we could do like a newsletter. Maybe we could do a very expensive flyer for one of our parties and incorporate this kid who is a great writer, Colombian from Queens, and my other partner was Colombian from Queens, so we were like three Colombian kids. I reached out to him, and we did this party called Fe, about religion and about our perception of religion. My partner went and shot all these incredible pictures around New York City, synagogues, churches, and we put them on these slide projectors. We set up 3 of them on timers, and we had this whole party about like just the experience of religion, and just, it sounds a little crazy, but the visuals were really cool. And then Rodrigo wrote this incredible invite, and then that's it. That's what sparked it. And then right after that, we had a mutual friend that we were helping with his plays off Broadway. Everybody knows him now, Mr. John Leguizamo. So John Leguizamo at the time was doing these plays in Lower East Side, and Rodrigo and I were helping him promote the plays. We said, hey, we got an idea for this. We weren't even calling it a magazine. We have this idea for this project. You'll come through my cousin's house.
We're gonna put you on the cover of our magazine that we're about to put out. It's gonna be huge.
I'm always the sales guy, so I oversold it. My biggest influence at the time was Quincy Jones had just launched Vibe magazine, and I thought that was the most incredible thing I've ever seen. I've always been a fan of The Source, but Vibe, when Vibe magazine hit the market, and the covers and the stories, and it was just from the urban perspective. I that was it. That's what convinced me. Like, okay, they got Vibe magazine. Black culture is always the driving force, but nobody really digs into the Latin culture from our perspective, the urban Latin culture, not Latin culture like salsa, merengue, all that stuff. That's always been around. There's always been an audience for that, but nobody was living our reality. I was friends with the Beat Nuts. I was friends with all these rappers that were, doing their thing. Guys behind the scene, Lil Louis Vega, Jellyman Benitez, but nobody was writing about them. All the freestyle artists. So we sat down. We're like, yeah, let's do something. And the first name of the magazine was called Urban, the Latino magazine, and I was like, that lasted for a couple of issues. But then John Leguizamo said, yeah, I'm going to do it. Let's do it. So we shot him for the cover. I remember distinctively that the day of the photo shoot, we were, it was a low budget photo shoot. And he was telling me, yo, guys, I'm up for this big film with Al Pacino. I think I'm going to get it. The timing couldn't be more perfect. We did this cover. We did this little magazine. It was 16 pages. I pulled a favor from Franklin Nunez, who still owns Lino Press. I went over there. He was the guy that was printing all the flyers for all the promoters. Every promoter in New York City would print their flyers with Lino Press. So we launched Urban Latino in '94. I had come back from basic training, AIT. I was in the reserves. I was working at Apple Bank. I was in a management program. I thought, I'd just be a banker or something like that. Be close to money so I can make some money.
Yeah, then, what people say growing up, get yourself a traditional job. You can never go wrong with a traditional job. And it's like, but I want more.
Exactly. So my 9 to 5 was Apple Bank. My nights would be spent working on the magazine. My weekends would be promoting parties all over New York City. We were a serious bunch of young guys having a lot of fun, but really serious about getting people into clubs and making money, negotiating with owners and stuff like that. So the parties were bigger than the magazine for a while. Then I dove into media heavily, and I never took any classes. I'm a big advocate of reading. So when I decided with my partners we're going to get into this magazine business, I went and read as much as I could about the magazine business, about minority businesses in New York City. And one of the books that really opened my eyes up was Everything You Need to Know About Business, or something like that, by Earl Graves, the guy who started Black Enterprise and is one of the biggest distributors of Pepsi product. I read that. I was very lucky to have met two people that changed my life. Rosanna Rosado, who at the time was the editor-in-chief of El Diario, who became the publisher later, and Clayton Banks, who was the vice president of Comedy Central, who now runs Silicon Harlem. And to this day, they are still my mentors, my friends. And in every phase of my business life and any business I've gone into, they've been the first two people to support me and always encourage me and to take the lead. One thing is definitely having mentors that are a lot more successful than you, that if they open the door to you, learn, absorb, and try to incorporate what they do into what you do.
You're skipping ahead to what advice would you give someone?
Oh, sorry.
No, but it's totally fine, because since I know you, I've known you since 2017, and I really got to know you and your wife Zaylene over the pandemic, because you guys put your hand out to me when all the gigs were shut down and I needed something to do with my time and to pay my bills. I see the work ethic, I see the drive, I see the passion. I also am aware and have seen firsthand of how you are very much still wanting to learn, because we never stop learning, but also are big on teaching people, not in a preachy way, which is one of the things I love about talking to you. You're never preachy, or you don't come off as preachy, but you do want to inspire people, even in just casual conversation. So I get it, that you're already wanting to, this is what I did, this is how you can do it. But it's true, learn as much as you can. Not everyone's cut out for college, or not everyone can afford college, but if you can find a book or several books that can change your life and teach you what it is that you're looking for, you're a prime example of that. And then also with the club promotions, that's kind of foreshadowing the world you're in now.
It's ironic, the full circle that my life has taken in the last couple of years. It's weird. It's weird, and you know.
We're gonna get
all right.
We're still in the 90s. By 1999, you expanded your impact by launching Urban Sofrito, a bilingual newspaper supplement, and Urban Latino TV, a syndicated television show. So you went into more print media, from Urban Latino magazine to Urban Sofrito television.
Right.
Which makes so much sense, reaching a wider audience, specifically Latinos and people interested in learning about our people. Tell us what went through your mind when you've created and or were being presented with such great opportunities like these.
So just to go back a little bit, the magazine took off tremendously. We were approached by El Diario, the newspaper, to move our operations from Queens. I had built an office. I had 12 employees. We were already doing close to over $1 million a year in revenue, just the magazine, and then our club promotion business was doing another $300,000-400,000. So we were a small business, but we were moving fast. We were awarded the fastest growing Hispanic-owned business by Hispanic Magazine. We were getting a lot of calls. My days, I remember being 28, 29 years old. I would wake up early, get to my office, and the calls that would come in on any given day, I would record them, and it was just got so weird. The calls that we were getting, from labels to brands to everything, and I was overwhelmed. So I would reach out to Rosanna at El Diario, and I would tell her the amount of calls, and she's like, "Oh, I wish I had that problem. El Diario's struggling with advertising. We're struggling with audience." I'm like, and then one day I was joking, like, "Yo, you know what? You should bring us over, and we take over your marketing, and we take over your promotion, and I'll kill it." You're like, again, always selling more than what I knew what to do. But she was like, "You know what? That's a good idea." So the owner of El Diario at the time owned LA TV out in California. He was a Mexican guy, owned a bunch of media properties. And he came to El Diario with Rosanna. I sat there and I just explained to them what I see for media, Latinos. Like, listen, El Diario needs to write stuff in English. They need to do things that are different. That this audience is not, is not your grandmother's audience. This. And he was convinced. She offered us a deal. She let me bring my whole operation to El Diario, put me and 2 other people on salary, and let me run my business. They didn't touch my money from Urban Latino, and I would get a commission from whatever advertising I bought to El Diario. That opportunity was incredible. Those 2 years that we spent, a year and a half, I think 2 years at El Diario, it was like my master's class, my PhD in media. I met so many powerful New Yorkers. I met the President Clinton. I met the publisher of the New York Times. I went to a meeting at the New York Times. I'm a fan of the New York Times since I was 14. And to go into that elevator to the executive suite and sit with the president and the guy who owns the Times and the family that owns the Times, and I'm this kid from Queens, that day, I felt like an out-of-body experience. Because who would have thought that this idea that we had doing these illegal parties and with these sitting around, joking around about this magazine will get me into the door where I would have to gone to Ivy League school or pay my dues. But I was sitting in a meeting with the New York Times telling them about this young market, this urban Latino market, and what I did with the magazine to the New York Times, what that's been around for 100+ years. So those experiences matured me really fast. And then I started looking at how can we expand the brand. And Renzo Devia, a very successful producer, TV producer, and
friend of yours.
And my best friend. I'm going to be his best man at his wedding in August in Colombia.
Oh, good for you.
We're all going to Colombia. So at the time, he was working at this agency, another hot agency, very talented guy. We went to a concert, and then we were both at this concert, and he was like, "Yo, let's talk." We were at Madison Square Garden. I forgot what concert we were at. So we went to get a hot dog and a beer, and we started talking. He's like, "Yo, I love the magazine. I could work with my partners, and we could get a TV show going." And we goes, "Yeah, a TV show? Really, bro? You think you could do this?" He's like, "Yeah." And in a matter of 3 months, we shot a pilot. We went to the conference in Vegas. We started selling the show to different stations, and then we went on the road. And I went to little towns all over the country selling the show to producers and TV stations in Kansas City, Philly, all over the country, going and explaining to them the market.
This is before social media, before you could just send a pitch deck via email. You had to physically go and meet with people and sell your brand, sell your product.
Yeah. Well, there was NAPI, which is a big conference that you can set up a booth. You try to sell your show. We were next to like an animal show, and we had like a little booth, and people would come to us. But if you really wanted to try to get your show picked up, you'd have to fly into these small markets and sit with the GM or the guy or the lady who was in charge of the station and do a PowerPoint and explain numbers. The good thing about it, the thing that got us through a lot of doors is I already had Budweiser, I already had Volkswagen. I had like 6 national advertisers that were with the magazine, with Diario. I already had those relationships. So I would go into the market and be like, listen, I already have Volkswagen. They're committed buys in this market. If you pick up our show comes in insulated with advertising. Your guys don't have to worry about selling my show. You just have to sell local advertisers. I already bring in the national guys.
Wow.
So that was like, they would look at us like, these guys are serious. I was already selling advertising for a bunch of years. I was already seasoned. I flew all over the country to different ad agencies all the time. I had relationships in Texas, California, San Diego.
And how old were you at this time?
At the time, I was 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, like in my late 20s, early 30s. But I would go on the road for a month and I'd come home until I sold some clients. So my first quarter at El Diario, I had given them an estimate. Look, I think I could bring in like 60K into El Diario, extra money, liquor, movies, the categories that they weren't good at. My first quarter, I brought in $250,000, it's $250,000 worth of advertising into El Diario. And then after that, my office got moved right next to the publisher's office. And I was walking around that office, this little, like the old people at the newspaper, the veterans, hated me. And then I got promoted to vice president of marketing of the whole newspaper. And I would pull these meetings.
Which newspaper again?
El Diario La Prensa. I was a VP of marketing. Besides running Urban Latino, they gave me a title and I had a budget and I ran the marketing for the whole newspaper. And I would be in meetings and I was the only one that would give my full opinion. I was like, you guys, this sucks. This sucks. This is garbage. You guys aren't covering this. You're not covering that. We don't have an entertainment. We don't have a nightlife. We don't have a restaurant review. Like things that want people to pick up the newspaper. So anyway.
Not just that, but also non-Latino newspapers have all those things. So why think that Latinos wouldn't be interested in learning about those things too, especially on a local level in their own community. So you're bringing common sense stuff that was flying over their heads.
So then I was like, you know what? I need my own section in El Diario. Like I got really stupid. I got really like bold. I was like, I want my own section in a newspaper or a pullout or something that just is bilingual. It's English, but it lives inside the newspaper. I'm telling you guys, this is gonna bring revenue. So we created Urban Sofrito, which was an insert into the newspaper that came out once a month. And in the first month, I think we generated something like $150,000 worth of advertising. It was like the distributor was like, hey, it's doing really well. People would already want to advertise. We were getting calls every 5 minutes for advertising. So we proved it really quickly. And then we had really good covers. Like we got Juanes on one cover, Shakira on the other cover. So we made it like what the New York Post did with page 6. We did something for El Diario. So those couple of years were great. I was dizzy by just being around. We were doing the biggest parties in New York City. We were doing 3 nightclubs on the weekends, 2,000 people every night. So the money was ridiculous. I wasn't mature to understand how to pay taxes and stuff like that. So I got into trouble with taxes. I did some ignorant stuff that when you're a poor kid and come into some money, you start doing some ignorant stuff. Nothing like illegal, but we were just not disciplined.
Yeah, that happens. Happens. Like you forget to do your taxes, or you're like, I'll do it next year, and then next year turns into several years. And also keeping receipts, keeping track of stuff.
The business of whatever you do, you have to really be conscious. And to this day, I've gotten better, but things, you still You have to be more disciplined on the business side of it. But anyway.
Or hire somebody to do that.
Or hire somebody. Just stay on top of it. So
I don't trust nobody with my money. So
no, but you gotta. Your business starts really maturing and you start seeing some real dollars. You always need a good lawyer and you always need a good accountant. You always do. But you have to do homework enough to know what they know a little bit. Yeah. So you know when you have a good accountant and when you have a good lawyer. So you can't just trust them blindly. You have to do your homework. So,
that makes all the sense.
So fast forward, El Diario got sold. They sold the newspaper. The offer at the time, they offered us, me and my team, we felt wasn't good. So we parted ways when they sold. And we kept on for a bunch of years. And to 2005, my original partners and we got an offer to get bought out, which I wanted to sell. A couple of my partners didn't want to sell. They thought we could get a lot more money. I told them publishing, people are not picking up new magazines anymore. People are online. We're not gonna be as relevant as we thought, and we haven't done the other stuff that we were supposed to do, like more online.
It sounds like you already knew at that time that it was time to pivot to the next thing.
I feel like, I observe what's going around you, and you observe the trends, and you observe what's happening. And the TV show was doing well, but we signed a really bad deal with the guy who produced the TV show. So we weren't making the money we were supposed to be making. The newspaper situation was wonderful, but when they sold, we weren't owners. So we got bounced around. And the offer that we had on the table was a good offer, because not only were they going to buy us, but we were going to be able to work with that new company. And then if that company got sold, we'd get paid again. And we'd had contracts. A couple of key people had contracts. My deal was the best because I owned the most. I'm the one that put up money at the beginning and the one that sold that. So my deal was going to be a little better than the rest of my partners.
That makes sense.
But I was willing to, hey, if that's the thing that's holding us back, then let's
look at the percentages.
Exactly. But they were convinced that it wasn't a good deal, that we would get more money. At the time, we were being looked at by the Time people and Espanol people. We were being looked at by the Latina people that own Latina. We were being looked at by the people who own Vibe magazine. We were even being looked at by the people who own The Source. So we were being looked by all the players because we had a good brand and we had a money-making brand. And but the deal that we had on the table was by a company that was acquiring a bunch of brands, Latin brands, and already had a Latin media business. So I felt that was the best deal and was giving us the best percentage in the new business. So that didn't happen. We had a fallout. 2005. We kind of stopped publishing for like 3-4 months. I that summer of 2005, I jumped off the magazine. My childhood friend at the time, Nestor Miranda, was shooting a film with Ramon Rodriguez. So I jumped on there as a producer. I helped him produce the film. I invested.
Harlem Hostel? Is that the
Harlem Hostel? Little independent film. That it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about film. Just the whole process, and I loved it. And we made a little bit of money on it. We sold it. That experience was wonderful, and that experience kind of opened up a bunch of other things. I produced some commercials with Renzo. We produced some videos, and that period of time, I was like, what am I doing? My partners and I are not coming back together. There was a couple of years we were back and forth on what we're gonna do with that. So in 2007, I decided to start a marketing business. A marketing PR business called Urban Lifestyle Media. I got an investment from a backer, and I started going after clients. I started going after liquor clients. I started going after, what I could do, my team at the time, what we can do, and we started landing clients. We started landing theater clients, movie clients, liquor clients. So
that was actually my next question. In 2007, you co-founded Urban Lifestyle Media, a marketing and public relations service company. ULM, short for Urban Lifestyle Media, has had clients Bacardi, Heineken, Doors, HBO, DreamWorks, Sprint. You also work with Spanglish Films.
Still to this day, yeah.
Yep. Law firms and just a nice big scope of different brands that need your services and your expertise.
Right.
So you've gone from print media to television to film and theater. Your career spans multiple mediums. And with Urban Latino Media, you're able to help brands expand their presence.
Right.
Can you recall your earliest memory, maybe as a kid, where you imagined seeing yourself connected in all of these areas of entertainment?
No, I remember, first of all, I mean, this is kind of cliche, but we were really poor. You know, we had some struggles. Also, my mother dealt with domestic abuse. So there was a time where we had to like leave the place we were living, and we lived in the basement of a church for a bunch of months because of the situation in my house. So those dark times, you know, I had to stay a little bit more like optimistic because I have a younger brother and a younger sister I felt responsible for. So I had to stay optimistic, you know, and I would lose.
Where did you get that idea that you had to be the one to be optimistic?
Because all the men in my mother's life were just bums, and they were not responsible, and they were just abusive, and I know I didn't want to be that kind of person. So, and I know that I had to protect them a little bit. So I will put myself out there, and I lost myself in art. I was a comic book fanatic. I would draw a lot, and then a couple of teachers that I had saw something in me and just kind of encouraged me. So in junior high school, I'll never forget this. Mr. Eisenstadt was a fine arts teacher that told me, like, you know what, you're talented, you have some talent. You should try to go to art and design high school. And I was like, I can never get into nobody. I'm not that good, you know, because there was other kids in my junior high school that were very talented. I grew up in Astoria. I remember there was this Greek kid I'm sure he's an incredible artist somewhere. Like, he would draw so incredible, and I was good, but I wasn't that good. But my teacher helped me with my portfolio and helped me with my interview. And I think the spark part of the first spark in my life that probably made everything else happen was getting accepted to art and design high school, because that changed my life. That told me, like, if I apply myself and I focus on certain thing, doors would open. So when I got into that school, I remember I got home and I was like, you know, I had set up myself a little like art section in my room, and I was like, wow, man, I'm going to school in Manhattan. And when I got to that school, it was a dream come true. It was like all the teachers were professional artists, designers, all worked in the industry, all had stories about working with this artist and working at ad agencies and all that stuff. And then in my junior year of high school, I was struggling a little bit because I was getting into trouble and stuff, but I focused. One of my friends got killed, and I focused, right after he got killed. I really focused. Like, I stopped fucking around, and I got really focused in school. I started taking my art classes really serious, my academic classes, and there was an application to intern at an ad agency, Gray Advertising, my junior year of high school. And I applied, and I was like, I'm never going to get this internship. And I got it. And then that was another thing that changed my life. That summer, I was struggling with so many things, but every morning I would go to Midtown, and I'd go into this ad agency, and I would be exposed to, you know, storyboard artists, directors, meetings about this client and that client and this client and that client. And I was just like, I absorbed all that. I'm like, wow, this is incredible. I got to go on sets for commercials. I got to sit in editing while the editors edit the commercials. I got to sit in the storyboards. Like, you know, this is when people had to draw the actual storyboard. There was no
by hand, yeah.
By hand. This is 87.
On
okay?
paper.
This is 87, 88. You know what I'm saying? This is sounds like old times, but it was. That changed my life too. That was that exposure to that creative behind the scenes, like how commercials were done. So that's definitely a spark. That's a spark. The spark of the New York Times. That meeting was a spark that was like, okay, I could do something huge, you know.
Ahá Spark.
And then that's it. My life has been always these opportunities that happen, because I might not know 100% what I'm doing, but
you're gonna learn.
I'm gonna learn, and I'm gonna bust my ass, and I'm gonna outwork anybody, and I'm gonna figure this out, and I'm gonna deliver for my clients, and I'm gonna deliver for whatever my partners that I get into business with.
your contributions are much appreciated. Not just me knowing you as your friend, but also just hearing your story. And I can imagine all the people you've impacted along the way. Latinos in all communities of color deserve to see and be inspired by people that look like them, doing positive things, making a positive impact. I also love how you're sought after for public speaking engagements on a variety of media and entertainment topics, all due to your life experiences. So you've been on stages like Harvard, Columbia University, Boston College, and the University of Florida, among others, speaking to people about. Actually, tell us what do you get hired to speak about? What's one speaking engagement that's left a major impression on you?
Well, the one that scared the shit out of me, and then I was about to pull out is when I got invited to go to Harvard. I'm like, what am I gonna tell these kids? You know, what am I gonna tell these students? They you know, and I looked at who was on the panel with me. I'm like, oh my God. What are they gonna? What can I really instill in them, right?
How'd you get that opportunity? Who reached out to you?
So, yeah. You're not gonna believe this. So I got an agent call me. There's an agency called American Speakers Bureau. So all this stuff was happening when I was like running around the country. Rosanna would get like Rosanna started like telling me, hey, you know, you should talk to these people because you could get money. You could make up to $3,000 in 45 minutes by just talking. I'm like, get out of here, Rosanna. Really? Shit, I'm gonna look into that. So, you know, I sent them my bio. The magazine was already popular. I had done an interview. I think it was CNN or one of these channels. It was weird. And then when that interview dropped, oh my God, the calls I was getting, right? So American Speakers Bureau called me. They're like an agency for speakers, and they usually represent publishers, authors, and you know, people like really like Spike Lee and stuff like that. I send them copies of the magazine. I send them my bio, and they're like, "Oh, we want to represent you. We want to represent you." I was like, "All right, cool." So they send me a contract. I'm like, "Oh, your minimum asking will be $3,500 for 45 minutes. I think we could get you up to $5,000 if you just work with us." I'm like, "Damn!" And plus expenses. Are they plus expenses? What does that mean?
That they were paying the expenses?
Yeah. So let me tell you what happened one time. So I'm in the offices of El Diario, and I was working late. We were closing an issue, and I totally forgot that I had booked something at Harvard the next day. So I called the agency. I'm like, listen, I'm still in New York. I think I missed my flight. I totally forgot about the flight. She's like, don't worry about it. Can you be ready? Can you be ready at 6? We'll send a car for you. We'll drive you to Boston if you don't mind driving. I'm like, I'll sleep in the car. I'm fine. So I'm not thinking anything. I wake up in the morning. It's not a car. It's like
a limo
SUV, like a Secret Service SUV. The guy comes out. He's like, "What do you want for breakfast? What do you would like to?" Like this, the whole day was crazy. I'm like, all right. So I'm in the car. Obviously, I didn't prepare nothing because I'm not thinking like that. I'm just writing notes. And I started getting myself all worked up. I'm like, you know what? Stop. I'm just gonna tell him my story.
It sounds like you were dealing with a tinge of imposter syndrome.
A lot of imposter syndrome. A lot. But I was like, listen, I have nothing to like be ashamed of. I'm running a department at a newspaper, the biggest newspaper in New York City, and yeah, in Spanish language. I run a magazine that's making real money. I'm in rooms dealing with clients all the time. So I went to BMCC. I didn't go to Harvard. So I went to Borough Mahan Community College for 2 years. It took me 4 years to do 2 years because I wasn't focused. So what? That's my story. You know what? Take it for what it is. And when I got there, I got to Harvard. I was really, really nervous. I remember really nervous. And then I closed my eyes and I'm like, all right, they're just people. You don't know their stories. Some of them might be like you. They just got a better opportunity to education and stuff like that. And I went in there and every other question was for me. You know, there was a guy from banking. There was a guy from there was a big willies on like real big willie guys, and you were doing good when the panel starts referring to you and try to use your story
as an example.
So I was like, all right, I'm good. And then afterwards, you know when your panel is good when the line to talk to you is longer than everybody else's line. You know what I'm saying? So it was cool. It was a real gratifying like hey, you're good enough to be there. Don't doubt yourself. You know what I'm saying? Don't doubt yourself. I'm sure you've experienced that in your career. Don't doubt yourself. You just came off a big show, and
Hey, this is not about me. This is about you.
But you know what? When I see that success for you, I know you. I'm like, yo, she got to understand that she's born to be in that room, born to be on that stage.
George, this interview is about you, not me.
But okay. So
I'm tearing because I understand.
You understand, girl.
I understand, and I'm like,
same thing.
Shit,
So
if George can overcome that shit and
show
up. Imagine if you didn't show up.
I
Imagine if you would have
to.
been like, man, you know what? I'm not gonna do it.
I wasn't gonna do it because I felt like I felt like I was gonna be ridiculed, or I wasn't gonna say the right word, or I might use the word that they or the, whatever the fuck it was. All my lack of education was gonna show through, and I'm sure it did. But you know what? Fuck you. That's who I am.
Your experience
speaks
volumes. The fact that you've been able to accomplish what you have with just a 4-year, 2-year degree out of BMCC, it's like
that's it. It doesn't matter. So on my ride home, I just started talking to the driver. You know what I'm saying? I started interviewing him, like, how is the job? Blah, blah. And we just had a real cool conversation. And he was like, yo, you know what? All the times I drive people to do different things, they're assholes. They're not assholes, bro. It's just everybody's trying to play a role. And sometimes people feel like they got to be a certain way to maintain their position, bro. I'm lucky. I'm lucky, and I work very hard, and this is just crazy right now. Right now, bro, I should be driving you, probably. I don't know what I'm doing. I just figure it out as I go. So he's a real cool guy. So got home. I remember that I was on a high for a while, and it was just like, okay, cool. And then I spoke at a bunch of different places. Sometimes I was undisciplined. I was really stupid.
What does undisciplined mean to you?
I'll tell you right now that I got caught up in the fun of the business. Like I remember getting a booking at NYU, and I went drunk. I was drunk, slurring my words.
Could anybody tell you were drunk?
My intern at the time, Cesar, was like, yo, bro, you drunk? I was like, yeah, bro, I need coffee because I'm about to go on this panel, and I'm really gonna either fall asleep or I'm gonna throw up. And I was on a panel with like other Latino media people, and I was late, and I was just I don't know where I was. I was at some.
I can't even picture you like this.
I was sloppy. I was undisciplined. The opportunities were just getting ridiculous. I got Heineken to pay for a Hampton house for 2 summers in a row, and what we did, 2 parties for them, and the rest of the time we just partied every weekend.
At this house that they rented for the whole summer.
They paid for. Okay, two summers. No, I think 3 summers in a row they did that. So think about it. So you're playing Office all week long. On Thursday, I'm renting a van to take all my friends, all the females that we're talking to at the time. So celebrities.
Yeah, I got a house in the Hamptons, girl.
No, we didn't have to say it because we were already the buzz was out. I would have artists that I worked with, they would fly in and be like, yo, I just got in New York. You got the house? I'm coming through. And then we would be there, and then the guy who just did Madison Square Garden, I'm not gonna say names, would roll up and we'd just be partying, and then
hanging out, having a good time,
just vibing, talking about how we're gonna take over the world, and trying to impress chicks. There were this very beautiful group of political campaign managers for someone I'm not gonna talk about, and they just rolled up to our party. I'm like, don't you guys gotta get this guy elected? Yeah, that's okay. We're here to party. We're here to have some fun. Make sure nobody's taking any pictures. I'm like, nah, it's all good.
Clean, fun.
It was fun. And big willing people that are in the business now, that are behind the scenes and front of the scenes, that we would just have a good time. So that was the weekends. Then we would go the week, at events. Then we were promoters on the weekends. So it was hard to stay disciplined,
let me ask, do you think it was just really living in the moment, I'm gonna absorb every opportunity that's business and fun right now because YOLO, you only live once? Or can you say that there was little sprinkle of self-sabotage in there because some of it was too good to be true?
Out of the whole crew, I was the most disciplined. I would stop, and I wouldn't cross the line on certain things, and I would be like, listen, let me get home because tomorrow we have meetings. We have to sell these clients. I cannot go there. Well, again, you're in your late 20s, early 30s. You know what I'm saying? So you're just not that mature. Self-sabotage, I think we do that all the time, to a certain extent. And sometimes you get to a point where you think you're there only because of your talent, and you don't think about, like, there have been people that open doors for me, and you're not really understanding the whole full scope of what it is to be successful. Success is
not just talent. It's showing up on time or early, which I've learned with you. The discipline of showing up and on time, prepared
and humble. Humble. So at the time I was getting less and less humble with more and more success that we got. And I had to check myself a couple of times. And a couple of people checked me, and I was like, you're just saying that because you're not doing nothing. So when things started like stopping and I had to reestablish the agency and like really go solo, there was a couple of humble pies. And then when I had to deal with a tax bill that floored me with the IRS, it got real quick. At that point, I wanted to be like more business, get really behind the scenes. Like my last few years, I've really purposely, I don't do interviews. I try not to go to events too much that are not for a certain purpose. I think the one word, I know your podcast has like, let's take away one word. As I get older, I want to have a certain purpose.
Intentional.
And intentional about the things that I do, and have a real clear purpose of what these next years will be. If God blesses me and lets me, grow older, have a purpose in that I want to educate, I want to help the people that work for me and people that reach out to really show them, hey, you know what? You're going to be in your own movie, but let me tell you what scripts usually work well. And let me tell you what really I've learned in life, And I'm lucky enough that in these new ventures that I have a couple of people that work for me that are incredibly talented, and I'm helping them open their eyes to opportunities, and the opportunities are coming, and I can see how they're coming into their own, and that's really satisfying.
Yeah, the community is grateful to have you in it for those reasons and those intentions, because there's a lot of heart behind it. Speaking of your most recent ventures, 2018, you entered the New York City food industry, investing in Grano de Café, a Colombian cuisine restaurant based out of Corona, Queens, New York, and just recently opened a second location in Washington Heights on the Isle of Manhattan in New York. The restaurant is an ode to your Colombian roots. Right. Then during the COVID-19 pandemic, you went on to launch Latin Chef League food trucks. So now you're in the food industry, which, as we said earlier, it was kind of foreshadowing just you doing your parties, because I'm sure there was not just drinks, there was food. People have to drink and eat and have a good time. Being someone that loves Grano de Café, it feels like you're in someone's home and the food tastes homemade. So factor in food, and now you're in a whole new ball game. What made you pivot to the food industry? So
first of all, I got married. That's another spark moment. I met someone who not only is super talented, but has a beautiful heart. Her mom also, it's a package deal. I bought a package deal.
And they're Dominican.
And they've shown me how just to be more present, try to be more grateful and stuff like that. So getting married and getting a life partner, not just a business partner, but a life partner. And not only that, but she runs the agency now, the PR marketing agency, pretty much runs it. And I'm focusing more on the food stuff. And not only that, but we've now ventured into talent management, where we manage one talent that is also giving me that sense of like, wow, this is the second coming of something incredible. This group based out of Brooklyn called AfroDominicano, which we've been managing for a year now. So that's been incredible, going on the road with them and doing stuff like that. And then at the time where the agency was doing certain things, I started helping my sister with her restaurants. I started helping her with marketing and financing stuff. She exposed me to that business for a couple of years. And then when the opportunity came along, the one that we bought in 2019, I jumped in. I convinced the baker from one of my sister's restaurants to come in as a partner, so that he can also learn how to be a business owner.
Willie the Baker, saludo Willie.
And responsible for all the delicious and all the weight that we put on. We bought that in July of 2019, and a few months later, the pandemic hit, and everything stopped. Let me give you for example.
And I was around at that time.
You were around that time.
And I remember saying, George, people gotta eat.
So what happened is March 1st, 2020, and I'm like, wow, we're about to have an incredible year. We just signed this. We were about to sign this. We signed that. We signed this. Spanglish. We got 12 movies. We got 45 events with the lawyers. We got, the agency. We opened up an office. We were, it was booming. And in March 20th, 2020, I'm sitting there like, how are we going to pay our rent? Everything stopped. So we were like, you know what? We invested in this restaurant. We're going to go into the restaurant business and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to dive into it, and we're going to make something out of it. And so Grano de Cafe has been probably the hardest business I've ever been into. Food business in New York City, if you're going to do it right, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of juggling so many different things, employees, the Department of Health, the taxes.
You can't have a restaurant business and think that you can work fixed hours.
No.
Because stuff happens while you're sleeping.
All the time. So, it was myself, my wife, and one cook for a couple of months. That's all that was working there. And little by little, we built it back up. And fast forward, a bunch of years now, the one in Northern Boulevard, thank God, is doing really well. We're open 24 hours. We employ about 20 employees. And it's already running on its own. We decided to open one up in Inwood, April 1st, 2024, this year. We're in October now, about to go into November, and it's still kicking our ass. It's costing us a nice, substantial amount of money. But I see it. Like, the next word besides purpose is you have to have some vision. You have to have vision. You can't see something for today. You got to say, hey, you know what? If I do this, and that, I could see it a year from now. I could see it 2 years from now, And you have to have the patience and the stamina and the consistency to get to that point. Because once you hit that point, if you do the things right, 90% of the time, it's going to work out. Mm-hmm. So we're in that vision down the line thing. But we opened up here in Inwood, and this neighborhood is going through a transition. The Dominican culture is vibrant. It's what's driving entertainment. It's an incredible culture, but it's also very competitive. And the dynamics of real estate, gentrification, New York City as a whole. New York City is like a living organ, and it changes so fast. And a small business, you could be sucked into that, and your money could disappear. Or you got to figure out, how do I find my niche in this neighborhood? So we are a bakery. So we're counter programming to the nightlife that happens here in Inwood. So when people are closing their business for the night, we're opening up for our business. And when we're closing, they're starting their night. And then we're consistent with our product. I've learned about and I've discovered the culinary culture of Colombia. I'm learning more about myself, about the pastries, the bakery, and it's very therapeutic, I have to say, at this age. And it happened at the right time, because I'm at the age right now where, you don't have as much patience, and you want to do things that feel more tangible. So when I have to go open the bakery, and I have to pull out the bread, and I have to make sure we have enough pan de bono, arepas, buñuelos, and then when people come in, and we have clients that are like, oh my God, I love your stuff. I just did it for my baby shower. I had it for my kid's birthday, and that stuff starts happening. it's really gratifying. It's really gratifying.
Because
So,
you become a part of the community. It's not just you opening up your doors and saying, here, come have our food. And we know you're hungry. You're going to buy it anyway. It's not just that. It's being part of the community. And I think I saw a post the other day on Instagram that you guys partnered up with the Runners Club.
yes,
How'd that
incredible.
go?
So talk about a group of young people that have made a change in Inwood. These people have made running and exercise and community
Enjoyable.
cool. No, cool.
Oh,
Cool. Like I'm part of the run club. Like they've made that so cool. We were like, we got whatever they want, we'll do, because they're doing something in the community where they're making people think about their health, and they're making it so much fun to go out there and exercise.
and not just by yourself, but with, again, a community. Community
Come
is
on.
really important.
They
We
had
learned
also-
about that during the pandemic, how important community is.
They had 700 people in their 5K run that we were one of the sponsors. 700 people. Okay?
Wow.
And they're building something incredible. I mean, that's what's beautiful about our culture, that you could take something and make it our own, and really you could see it just explode, and that they've made something so beautiful in our community that's healthy, that's community. People are meeting their wives, their husbands. It's like a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing what they've done. So we partnered up with them. We're also partnering up with a Latino children's book publisher. We're working with them. We want Grano de Cafe in Dykeman become a hub where parents want to bring their kids, and not only they taste the culture, but they learn about the culture. And we want to have book readings where kids see the place and they have beautiful memories of going into Grano and having their pan de bono. We had this beautiful little boy, 4 years old, the other day, beautiful curls, and he comes by his mom, and his mom is Colombian, but his dad is like Haitian. And the kid is like, Mom, I want my pan de bono. I want my pan de bono. And I look at him I looked at Zio, like, my wife, I'm like, you see? That's what I'm talking about.
I love
That's
that.
what I'm talking about. The kid is walking by, before he goes to the park, he's making his mom stop to buy a pan de bono because he loves it. The crayons that we gave him, the cookie, because we're making it very family friendly. Now, it's a business. McDonald's doesn't do Happy Meals because they like kids. They do Happy Meals because that's a marketing ploy. And that Happy Meal, all of us have had Happy Meals our whole lives. So it's become of our childhood. So if we could make a kid think about a book about Colombia or DR and learn a little about the culture and buy a pan de bono, I'm good with that.
I love that.
I'm good with that.
Being of the community.
So we're doing toy drives in both businesses this year, in Northern and in Dykeman. We're always gonna do that. We're always gonna try to give back to the community. We're always gonna, when people come by and they need something for their church or their organization, we're always gonna, reach out and try to be as accommodating as possible, because we are part of that. And the thing is, doing my homework, if you look at neighborhoods, right? Nightclubs, restaurants, they come and go. There might be a restaurant that stays 20 years, but if you go to neighborhoods, there'll be bakeries there that are 50, 60, 70 years there. Why? Because that's one of the businesses that if you do it consistently, it becomes like the must thing. It never goes out of business because, first of all, you're not playing into the nightlife where people come and go. You're not playing to the restaurant, people's taste change, but everybody always wants a good cup of coffee, a pastry, and they always want to walk into a place that feels familiar and starts their day off or ends their day. So out of all the investments to make in restaurant business, which is a very risky business, I feel like maybe the bakery is one of the least riskiest of all.
And you guys are doing great with it. You're doing great with the Corona location that also has an outdoor patio, and you're doing great with Inwood. And I imagine that they've accepted you guys with open arms.
The community has been beautiful. The people that have come in have been beautiful. A lot of tourists, it's been beautiful. We met some really good people, and it's always fun to see new faces and stuff like that. And we're in it, so we're gonna make it happen.
I love it. You're a businessman. You're a people connecting wizard. You're an ad wizard, a marketing wizard, a people wizard, because you're good at reading people and knowing what what is happening, what is changing, what's coming in, what's going. What would you say has been the highlight of your career or careers? Because you've done a lot.
I feel like my career has always been in culture. One thing that I feel passionate about and things that motivate me is anything culture. And culture is music, food, and all that stuff. I think Urban Latino will always be the hit. You know, the one song that you gotta play on your concert because everybody knows you.
That's your university. At this point, Urban Latino is your university.
Yeah, everybody.
That's your grad school.
Yeah. People that know me for a long time and they still don't know that I've done so much other stuff, but they would, oh, that's that guy, you know, and back in the day, you know, whatever. Recently, Billboard magazine, there was a panel with Fat Joe and Nori last couple of weeks ago, and Fat Joe kept talking about Urban Latino because we did a lot of stuff with Fat Joe. So
I wonder if he ever read that article I wrote about him.
Possibly. But big ups to Fat Joe. He's always been a big supporter. So I think that the highlight is still to come. You know, I'm still to come. I'm very excited about the restaurant business. You know, I think I have a vision. I don't say it too loud because my wife will kill me. I see a couple of more locations of Grano, but
why not?
But one upstate. I want to go upstate in a virgin market that nobody would think of, Columbia Bakery. I'm very, very excited what work we're doing with AfroDominicano. I think AfroDominicano as a group, if you haven't seen them, check them out.
Freaking amazing, mind-blowing, every performance.
We just booked Michigan. We're about to go to Michigan for our first time. We're about to take that music nationally and internationally. I'm really excited about that. I'm excited about just life, you know, every day that God gives you to wake up, you know, have a purpose, to try to do something. You know, there's some days that you don't feel like doing anything. Some days you feel beat up. Some days you're like, wow, I don't see myself getting there. But it's okay. Then stop. Then read. Then go watch a movie. Then
take a break.
You take a break because, you know, things don't happen on the time frame that you think they happen. But then things happen when you don't expect them to happen. You know what I'm saying? They don't expect them to happen. I have a great client who's become a beautiful friend of mine, Gustavo from Spanglish Movies. And this is a guy that I admire because I've never seen him turned off. I never see him like, oh, business is so bad. And he's in the film business. Film is going through incredible changes. And he's always on to the next thing. He's always on to the next thing. He's always telling me about this new idea. Talk about vision. He's someone that has vision, like more than I've ever met anybody. So working with him has been one of the best classes I've ever had in film distribution and how this process happens, you know? So that's been incredible. The other great thing that's happened the last couple of years, the great experience, one of the best experiences I've had is the Queens Library reached out to us and we did some workshops, some workshops with some people that wanted to learn about business. That was a great experience. I met so many people with great ideas that were just starting. And I looked at them and I was like, I remember when I had the idea of Urban Latino. I remember when I had the idea of this and I had the idea of that. And just hopefully we gave them enough little things that helped them along their way. So that's been a great experience.
So what I'm hearing you say, with all the different careers and jobs and clients and places you've been placed in and also placed yourself, culture has been at the forefront of that Latino culture, but also relationships.
Yes.
You're really good at keeping really good relationships with people, and that's what's helped you continue to build.
Right. So as you get older, you know, when you're young, you have, you know, I was a promoter at a nightclub, you know, in my 20s. I had a lot of friends, supposedly, you know. As you get, you know, that was the highlight. Everybody wanted to get on the list. Then I used to do promotions for different concerts and everybody was your friend. As you get older, your circle of people that you pick up the phone and you really want to have a conversation becomes very, very, very tight. So right now I have a handful of people that when something is stirring, you know, and I want to flush it out, I'll make those calls, you know. Or when I'm about to do something new with my business and I want some advice, I still call the two people that have always been Rosanna Rosado and Clayton Banks. Now, Rosanna and I had a fallout. Let me tell you about how someone who who understands about people. Rosanna understands about people. We had a fallout, and then a few years passed, and we didn't talk. And you know what happened? I got a letter, a handwritten letter from her. And in that letter, she wrote some incredible, beautiful things and made me realize, you know what? Life is short. And there's certain people that always had invested in you and always saw something in you, and you can't let time pass and not reach out. So that moved me. You know, that takes a lot of, just sit down and write a handwritten letter in the 2020s, whatever. That's beautiful.
People do email. They'll do like me, a text.
No.
And that's not great. A handwritten letter says a lot.
So and it was not 1 page, it was like 7 pages. And I was like, wow. And that sparked me, like, well, you know what? I need to exercise that too. Certain people, to reach out to certain people. I don't know if I have the discipline to write a 7-page letter, but definitely that was impactful. And she's always been impactful like that. She's a leader, and she's always had vision also. So I as I get older, there are certain people that I trust, and I respect their knowledge and their experience. Arturo is another one. Arturo is behind the scenes with Gran Combo, and he's a tour manager. And right now he's about to do a huge show with Randel, this comedian. That's someone I call and I take notes, because that's someone that I've respected for years and years and years. And he's always gives you nuggets, golden nuggets. And then I have people around me that give me hard, tough advice. Will de Jesus, my business partner, business manager, advisor, he'll break it down like, yo, dude, that's not making you money. Get rid of that. You're too old to be doing that. You know what, bro? You're absolutely right. I got to take that advice. You always got to be open enough to take advice from people you trust, but that have your best interest, not because they want to kind of maneuver something. You know what I'm saying? And you got to be very careful with that. And then there's people, they're associates that are like the seasons. They come, they go, they come, and they go. And there are people that are around you when things are popping off, and people, when things are tough, you don't hear from them. So you learn not to take it personal, but to respect
people's boundaries.
Respect your boundaries. That's it. And then I always try my best to carry myself and treat everybody. If it's the guy that's washing dishes in my restaurant, to my landlord at one of my places, I try to treat them the same way, with respect. If they want to say something to you, just take the time and listen, and always be respectful. And I never speak to anyone in a demeaning way. I try not to in a demeaning way. And I always try to be that guy that doesn't demand respect, but has earned respect from people.
All gems, George.
Thank you.
And juggling a lot with all of your achievements, I know mental health is also something very important to you, right? You're used to juggling a lot of tasks and staff all at once a lot of the time. Yeah. What helps keep you grounded?
You know what? I had a virtual therapist for a while, and I stopped. And I feel like there is no weakness in speaking to someone professional consistently, because now we deal with so much stuff being thrown at you. Unfortunately, our phones have become so addictive. Like, everybody's an addict, no matter different types of addict. Everybody's an addict. Everybody is like in each other's virtual, fake, real reality. It's becoming so bad that the one-on-one personal interaction becomes like, you don't even want to do that. You rather just go through it, summarize everything, and not have to deal with people. And that's hard,
I'm guilty.
Hard, and you isolate yourself and stuff like that. I'm fortunate and unfortunately enough that I am around people all the time. You have your own mental health, but I'm responsible for my immediate family, and I'm responsible for almost 30 people's livelihoods, in the businesses. Plus freelancers that work for us. I'm not so worried about freelancers because it's a job and they go. But the people that go to my restaurant, open them up, work a shift, taking care of it, bringing it, I'm responsible for them. You know what I'm saying? So I'm responsible to be realistic, open, and when I'm going to be around them, I got to go, okay, you know what? If you're having a bad day, if you're irritable, don't go in. If you're going to deal with things, go there. And, sometimes I have to take 5 minutes before I get to the business and be like, the great thing, though, is that I've gotten really good at employing people that I know will work good with the culture that we've built. And then there's some days like today, I was like, I just really don't want to deal with people today. I don't want to deal with people. I don't want them calling me every 5 minutes. And people are going through different struggles. And I try not to know too much about their personal stuff because you're not trying to solve their life. You're just giving them their income to pay their bills and creating an environment where the females feel safe working for you and the guys feel safe. And that's my job. And then my family, they support me. And sometimes I don't appreciate all the things they've done. And I take that for granted. So that, that balance act is something that I have to work on. And your mental health, it's crucial. And as you get older, you're not as sharp, you're not as on it. And you got to know when you got to start phasing yourself out of certain things and empowering other people to make decisions. And you just got to kind of manage that. So mental health is everything, is everything,
It really is.
It starts with, with your home.
Accountability
and respect.
Yep. And it's a lot for anyone to juggle, but with as many aspects of businesses plus family plus personal relationships that you deal with, it's big of you to be aware of all those things and be mindful, because we know a lot of people that are just like, this is the way I am, deal with it or don't deal with it. And it's like, that you can't live through life like that. Like, you're gonna constantly have to deal with people. Pero if that's how you want to be, no salga de la casa, quédate en casa, because it's no way to go through your day.
There are people that run their businesses with hundreds of employees that are just not approachable, but they surround themselves with people that handle that. It all depends.
So many gems. Thank you. I appreciate, again, I'm just grateful that you were able to take the time out to talk to me.
Please.
And to share your story with my listeners. Let's transition now to the word perspective portion of our chat.
Word perspective.
I asked you to submit 3 words for me to consider for our conversation.
Okay.
You submitted purpose, respect, and vision. So let's talk about purpose. I love that that's the word that you kept focusing on throughout our conversation, because that's the word I picked. Yeah. According to the Oxford Dictionary, as a noun, purpose is defined as the reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. As a verb, as an action, it is a person's intention or objective. Looking back at all you've accomplished, what does purpose mean to you?
I think if you lack purpose, then you're lost. If you look at successful people, you look at things that have happened, they usually go in there with a very definitive reason they're doing certain things. When I was young and I got really good at drawing comic books, one of my first businesses that I ever did, I was 14. I had a friend that lived in my neighborhood, an Italian kid, and we wound up going to art design together. We started doing these jackets, these jean jackets. When people wore jean jackets with the drawings in the back.
Yeah.
I lived in a neighborhood mostly Italian and Greek kids, right? And I was Latino, and my friend was Italian. And there was 2 summers where I was into rock music. I love Def Leppard. I love, all those rock groups that were out in the 80s. So we got really good at drawing. So we started doing jean jackets with Iron Maiden, Def Leppard, stuff like that. And in our neighborhood, people would give us up to $40, $50 a jacket. You're 14 years old, 13 years old. We worked out of his basement. He had a house across the street from Astoria Park in the basement. His grandmother used to make us pasta, and we used to go in that basement, and we treated it like a business. Like, yo, I'll soak the jacket, put the white on it, you outline it, I'm good at this, you're good at that. We could knock this out in 2 days and we'll split the money. And in our neighborhood, with all the white boys, all the people that were into rock, we became known, that we became known for those guys that could do the jackets. That was my first business. And my purpose is to do something cool so that, you could buy it from me. That became crucial. Then my mother opened up a salon. Our first business was a beauty salon right downstairs from where we live. And then we were one of the first Latinos in our neighborhood to own that business. And our purpose was that, come in, get a haircut, get your nails done, get all that stuff. And we had a business, there was a pride in it. That's always been a thing. I've never been good at working for anybody. I've worked with people as a team, but I've never been good at not being the one in charge or the one taking the risk. I've always been comfortable with that position to this day. I'm not scared. What do we have to do? If I add up all the money I've invested in projects that have gone nowhere, I could have probably bought a couple of houses. But it's okay, because I'm never going to regret not doing that and not having that purpose. You know what I'm saying? That's always been the thing. I don't have any tattoos, but the one tattoo that I thought a couple of years ago when I was going through a really rough time is I was going to get the word purpose tattoo, just to remind me, like, you know, something like that. But you know, I'm too old for this. But that is the word that if I ever think of writing something or maybe doing something where I could leave behind, that definitely would be one of the anchor words that I would use throughout my whole life.
Under that umbrella of purpose for you, what I'm hearing is of service to people, of service to the community, of service to the culture. That is your purpose, being of service to educating people about culture, community, and being available for what a person might need, whether it's food, whether it's entertainment, whether it's reading an article to teach them about a person or something.
Yeah, that was probably the biggest high of having a magazine or a TV show. I'm blessed enough that I'm going to be able to look to ride the wave of something else that's impactful. You know what I'm saying? And now it's the music side. It's very humbling, and I'm very, very lucky, and I'm grateful that as a human being, I'm able to experience these things from where I started.
And it's all because of following your purpose.
You gotta have purpose.
It's amazing. So on that note, in one sentence, you can use as many commas as you need in this sentence. What advice would you give someone when it comes to following one's purpose?
The best advice is to be as honest with yourself and true to your own vision, and not follow anybody's perception or anybody telling you can't do it. You got to follow that voice and that drive that you have inside you. You got to follow it as clear and as possible as you can without distractions. Starting out in the business now at this age, people that are young don't have the patience that maybe we had, because they feel like things have to happen immediately. And things don't happen immediately.
They don't happen immediately. And social media will give that illusion that things happen immediately. And I feel like this is something that the new generation also needs to do more of. I don't know if they're doing it already, but listening to other people's stories so that they can learn that it does not happen. Nothing happens overnight.
You have to respect the process, respect the time it takes, and really put the work in. Put the work in. You know what I'm saying? You got to put the work in. And the work is lonely. It's difficult. It doesn't give you immediate gratification. But if you put the work in, it'll pay off. It'll pay off eventually, you know? And then, and if it doesn't pay off, it's okay. You know how many things I've failed on? Things happen. You know, everything that happens is not always going to be great. It's not always going to be positive, but you got to learn from everything, and you got to be like, okay, you know what? Let me be honest with myself. Maybe I'm not meant to do this, because I've already, tried this and it doesn't seem to be moving in the right direction. Let me pivot over here. Let me pivot over there. But give it enough time to realize.
To see if it works out. And connect with the right people. And not everything is a failure. And things that don't work out, they're lessons.
Things that don't work out are not failures. Things that work out are just, steps to your success. So you don't have to always win. You don't always have to be, not everything is going to be 100% the way you think it's going to happen. But that might be the thing that made you go over here, and this over here is what you were supposed to do. So you don't know. I think that it's a wonderful time to be in this business, but it's also the playbook that you had, you got to throw it away, and you got to create a new playbook, and you really got to understand the psychology and the mental state of where the market is right now, and what people
any market.
But at the end of the day, humans are humans. We want to interact. We want good product. We want good service, and we want to feel like we helped a business grow or we help someone succeed. Most people want that. Most people are really good about that.
I love this. So many gems, George. So many gems. George, thank you for sharing your story with Ahá Spark listeners. I want to wrap up your episode with a fun game of rapid fire questions. It's where I ask you this or that questions and you choose quickly between the two. Okay. You can also give a one-word answer if neither works. Okay. It's all about quick thinking and having fun. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Ready, set, go. Aguardiente or bourbon?
Bourbon.
Cold weather or warm weather?
Cold weather, 100%.
Spontaneous weekend getaways or planned week vacations?
Planned week vacations.
Paperback books or reading books on a screen?
Paperback all the way.
Lake or beach?
Lake.
City life or country life?
Going towards country life.
Tomato.
Tomato.
Eso se acabó. That's it.
I like that. I like that.
Trying. I learned a lot from sister, the sister experience, thanks to you and Z. Don Jorge, because I gotta wrap it up with Don Jorge.
Please say it a couple of more times, because when my mother-in-law sees this, I'm gonna repeat that 100 times. Because I'm driving her crazy. It's like, you gotta call me Don Jorge. It's like, never.
Tú eres Jorgito. You're little Jorge. Mi baby Jorge. That's mama right there. Yeah, Don Jorge. Yep. This was such a great conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time out. I keep saying the same words, but I can't thank you enough for taking time to talk to me. Let listeners know where they can follow Urban Latino Media, Grano de Café, Urban Latino Magazine, and any last words you want to leave us with.
Well, there's too much to promote. So right now, we're going to promote what's the most current and relevant. Grano de Café NYC is our restaurants in Northern and Inwood. And Latin Chef League is our food truck business. And definitely look for AfroDominicano, one of our clients. Urban Lifestyle Media, Google it. It's all over the place. That's our media business. We're lucky that we're still relevant, that we're still doing our thing. The company always prides itself in culture, brand, and amplify. So that's what we do.
George, thank you.
All the best, Miss Yaya.
Thank you, Don Jorge.
Keep doing your thing, girl.
We doing it out here.
Sí.
Ahá Spark